Well, good day! So, seeing as the baseball season is in full swing,
No pun intended.
I would like to do a video about the greatest baseball pitcher of all time,
Which of course would be
Charlie Brown! Well, okay, maybe he isn't, but in his mind he is. So yeah, to achieve that goal, I will go through this entire list of things on the side here, and then, well, I guess the video will end. Huh?
So alright, let's go.
Oh yeah! So it's the first baseball game of the season for Charlie Brown and his team. Linus gives Chuck a pretty quick little pep talk about how the team has lost 999 consecutive games to this point. So, things aren't looking good for the team. But that doesn't deter Charlie Brown. This is the season that's gonna turn everything around. They're gonna start winning games from this point on. But everybody else on the team is miserable, right? Like, they know how much their team sucks, and they blame it all on Charlie Brown. But Chuck ain't having none of this negative nonsense, right? Let's just play ball, man. Let's just win a game. And so they try, but, as you would expect with Charlie Brown's pitching, like, man, it's just home run after home run after home run. Charlie Brown's team loses 123 to nothing. So with that lovely way to start the season, everybody quits Charlie Brown's team. They're like, man, we actually want to have fun this summer, And so they do. With no baseball games to get humiliated in, the kids are out having like the time of their lives, right? Skateboarding, swimming, playing jumping rope, like everything, man. They're just having the grand old time. But Linus informs Chuck that Mr. Hennessy of Hennessy Hardware is willing to sponsor his team. He'll put the team in a real league and they'll have real uniforms. Like, does Mr. Hennessy not know how bad Charlie Brown's team is? Because this might actually be a marketing, backfire. So after a while, Charlie Brown gets his friends to actually listen to him, and he tells them, yeah, man, we can get real uniforms and be on a team, like, it'll be awesome. And everyone is super excited because they're gonna get real uniforms. And that seems to be all they care about, is just the uniforms, man. We'll actually look like a baseball team. We'll look cool. But as Chuck is going to get the uniforms from Mr. Hennessy, the aforementioned Mr. Hennessy calls him and informs Charlie Brown that the league that they are joining does not allow girls or dogs to play on the team. And now Chuck is totally torn apart, right? Like, he really wants to be in this new league and have these super awesome looking uniforms, but he doesn't want to turn his back on his friends and just kind of exclude them. So Charlie Brown declines the offer of Mr. Hennessy to join the league and get those amazing looking uniforms. So at the next game, he doesn't quite tell the team the news about that yet. He just hopes that if they're also pumped up, they will win this game and then they'll just forget that they're gonna get these new uniforms that they're clearly obsessing over. Right? Doesn't seem like a good plan, but it somehow works. They're playing like the game of their lives. They're hitting balls, they're catching pop flies like it's something completely different from what they've been doing before.
And then
We get to the bottom of the 9th inning with Charlie Brown's team up at bat, and they're only down by 2 runs. Like, man, they could totally win it, right? Well, so Linus hits the ball, but is out at first base on account of tripping on his blanket and not actually reaching first base. Oh man, could have just left the blanket on the bench, I guess, but no. Lucy is up next and she gets struck out. 1, 2, 3, boom, gone. But luckily, Snoopy is up at bat next, man. He gets a hit, he gets on base. He even steals second base. He steals third base, man. He's in striking distance from getting a run. And what does he do? He actually steals home base. So the game is 2-1, man. It's still a chance to win, right? Well, maybe because you have Charlie Brown who's on bat next. And Charlie Brown is the Charlie Browniest at batting. And well, whoop, strike 1. Whoop, strike 2. And then, boom, he actually gets a hit. He's on first base, man. Like, wow, that's unprecedented, But what's this? He steals second base. Man, this kid is full of confidence. So much so that he even steals third base. And man, he's really contemplating about stealing home base, because if Snoopy just did it, well, hey man, the odds are pretty good, right?
well, wrong.
Because he's too overconfident, man. When he runs and he slides, like, he's not even halfway to home base and he just grounds out, like, in the field, basically. And that that's it, man. That's the third out. Game over, man. They were so close and they lost this game 2-1. So he's down and out. He's literally in the ditch, right? Basically. And he tells the team, yeah, we're not joining that new league. We're not getting those uniforms you were all so obsessed about. So everyone's pissed off at Charlie Brown and they all quit the team again and they leave. But then Linus, being the good guy that he is, he's like, yo, what are you girls so mad about? And well, I guess you too, Snoopy. The only reason he turned down the league is because the new league wouldn't allow girls and dogs to play, and he was actually doing you guys a favor. He was thinking about you guys. And then Schroeder jumps in for some reason too on the shame train and is like yelling at them too. So the girls all feel bad and they feel they should do something for Charlie Brown. So what they do is they take Linus's blanket and make a uniform for their team manager, Charlie Brown. Which isn't made to fit, but Charlie Brown couldn't be happier. And so pumped up is he that he can't wait for the next game, man, because, the team kind of has confidence and they could easily win the next game if they keep this momentum train going. But, sadly, the next game is called because of a torrential downpour, and, well, that just is Charlie Brown's luck, right? So all in all, things kind of worked out, things kind of didn't, but, that's the way it goes in baseball, right? And with that is the end of this fantastic tale. So Charlie Brown's team really sucks, eh? And I can really dig that, man. And I think a lot of us can in a certain way. Maybe not that bad. I did play Little League Baseball myself, and I think we did decently. But as an adult, with my crew playing in a recreational league, our team kind of did suck pretty bad. We were called the Rebel Scum, and we lost more games than we won, but at least we didn't have a 999 game losing streak like Chuck did. I think one time we actually finished third place, for the season, but for the rest of the time we were in the lowest division in the absolute bottom of that division. Oh, painful memories. But that's the way it goes in baseball, right? So why does Charlie Brown's team suck so bad? Everyone on the team blames him, right? Like, he's the manager. He's the one who should, kind of fix the problems. And yeah, I think in some ways that's pretty much true. So Charlie Brown is really stuck in the mentality that he is the only one who can be the pitcher, even though he's not good at it. And as a manager, he should probably kind of recognize that and maybe trade places with someone else. Like, I would suggest Schroeder. He's probably a better pitcher than he is. And Charlie Brown can really use the help catching a ball, which the catcher does, the entire game. But as we see in this special, man, Charlie Brown wants all the glory for himself, right? That's why he's the pitcher, because he's going to get the glory for the win. That's why he was going to steal home base, man, because he was going to tie the game up, for the team. And one thing in the special, which does kind of happen in other specials quite a bit, is that Schroeder really stuck up for Charlie Brown. Well, eventually, kind of after the fact. But when all the girls at the end were really getting on Charlie Brown's case, man, like Schroeder and Linus were the ones who were like, you girls are selfish, you don't understand what he did, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, that's just kind of what I got for that. If you haven't seen this special, it's really fun and awesome. And like I say, if you played sports as a kid, you will probably really identify with a lot of things in this episode special, especially if your team was really bad. But yes, indeed, we do have some more things to talk about here with the background and the history and all that kind of stuff, so let's go check that stuff out now. So this is the second Charlie Brown special that has been produced. The first one was, of course, the Christmas special, and this second one is kind of fitting because the first special was a religious holiday, and this second one is technically a religious pastime. Like if you're a really big fan of baseball, it's basically, the way of life, as it is for Charlie Brown. Because we've had baseball in the Charlie Brown Peanuts comic strips for quite some time. The first mention of baseball in the Peanuts comic strip was in March 6 of 1951. And it's kind of neat because in that one, Charlie Brown was the back catcher, and it looks like Sherman was the pitcher. So this was kind of a point I made earlier about how Charlie Brown should kind of change the roster spots and give people in different positions and see how the team kind of produces, hopefully better, but it looks like they already done that. Because on April 12th, 1952, Charlie Brown has become the pitcher of the team, and Schroeder is now the back catcher. And I'm pretty sure Sherman went out to third base, so they actually have done a lot of position changes on the roster, and well, things still haven't turned out, I guess. Like, not turned out at all. As Linus has said that they have lost 999 games, prior to this featured special, but like, man, 999 games, that is the equivalent of a Major League Baseball team playing 6.5 full seasons. Like, the Peanuts crew would have to have been like, what, 4 years old when he started playing baseball,
But
In the comic strips, Charlie Brown's team has won a couple of games hither and thither. In fact, in the entire strip's run, they've won 10 whole games. Which for them, man, every single game must have felt like winning the championship, so it's probably a pretty good feeling either way. The first game that they won was April 26, 1958, and that was partially due to the fact that Charlie Brown was homesick and he couldn't play in the game.
so maybe it is all his fault that they lose.
But they have won twice while Charlie Brown was in the lineup, and that was in 1994 when Charlie Brown's team was beating Royanne Hobbs' team for 2 wins. Royanne Hobbs says that she is the great-granddaughter of baseball legend Roy Hobbs. But Roy Hobbs is not a real person. He was just a character in the book and, well, the movie called
The Natural.
So as much as Charlie Brown's team sucked, man, I guess there was a team that sucked more, eventually. And speaking of his team, it's kind of funny that throughout all these years, Charlie Brown's team never actually had a team name. Or if they did, it was never actually mentioned. So if you were to name this Charlie Brown's team that loses all the time, like what would you call them? Like the Browns? That's a bit, obvious, but probably not. The Happy Wanderers? I don't know. Just comment down below what you think their team should be called. So for the most part, we don't see other teams that Charlie Brown's team is playing against really in any fashion, even in this special. When you see somebody stealing a base, there is no one on that base from the other team. But obviously other teams do exist. How else did they get all these home runs against Charlie Brown? One of those teams would be Peppermint Patty's team. On her team was also Marcy and Franklin, and sometimes they did hop on Charlie Brown's team, but I think they'd rather be on a winning team, so they didn't stick around too long. In this special, Charlie Brown refers to himself as the GOAT, which is kind of a funny thing in a way, because I've lived long enough where the sports term the GOAT has had 2 incredibly different meanings. Like say from 10, 15 years ago, and prior to that, being called the GOAT was a horrible thing. It meant you were the reason that the team lost, either based on one play or just the entire game. Right? Like you were the scapegoat. Some people say it's because there was a curse placed on the Chicago Cubs in, I think it was 1940s, and that curse was made by the Billy Goat Inn, for whatever reason. So with this special being made in 1966, yeah, that term actually meant that at that time. So, that's kind of hip. But of course, nowadays, GOAT has a completely different meaning. It's an acronym, which means greatest of all time. Like Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, Muhammad Ali, right? So Charlie Brown would clearly not be in that kind of category of GOAT. But speaking of, a quick little fun fact is that there actually was a Charlie Brown that played professional baseball, and he was also a pitcher. So his full name was Charles Edward Brown, and he only played 4 games for the Cleveland Spiders in August of 1897. Unfortunately, can't find a picture of the guy because 4 games, man. Back in the 1800s. Yeah, we're not gonna have a picture of that. But yeah, so that's all those interesting tidbits and all that stuff and whatnot. So I guess that is that. Right on, and there you go. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you liked it as much as I did making it. Also, feel free to check out the source material that I featured in this video. And if you want to leave a comment on anything you may have liked or things I might have missed in this, feel free to do so. Or anything else, just to say hi. That's cool too. And other than that, have a great day. Thanks.